Alright, hey guys, Dr. Minecraft here. This video, I am going to be doing episode 1 of History Lessons. Now, this episode, I will be doing the Destroyer Mark 1 and Mark 2. Now, these ships first appeared, or no, not appeared, they were first designed in the first era of the BCE. Basically, there's the first, second, and third eras. The main part of the series, well, the series itself taking place in the third era. But these ships were designed in the first because of a rebel faction that had popped up a few months after the BCE had settled. Now, these ships were primarily designed and used for ground assaults against the enemy troops, like a base or a tank battalion or something like that. Or there was enemy force advancing and, the ground troops were just too exhausted, so they had to use the broadside cannons on these, or the torpedoes, to make a full-on ground assault. Now, the armament for these ships, on the Mark 1, there is 10 cannons, 4 on each side for the broadside, and then there's 2 in this turret here. It also has 4 torpedoes, 2 in this turret here, and 2 that fire front, and it also has a fighter that has the ability to bomb whatever, a base, tank battalion, a small platoon. It also has a cannon equipped with it, and that's basically it for armaments on the Mark 1. Now the Mark 2, the only real difference, well, actually the only difference, is this cannon in the back. Now, it was added in the Mark II because, well, they just didn't need an empty space there anymore, because they didn't need to transport refugees or massive amounts of cargo that their cargo hold couldn't accommodate, which is what they used this space for here primarily most of the time. So in the Mark II, they just ended up adding a cannon in the back. And all the Mark Is eventually also got a cannon in the back. But it was really the Mark II that got the cannon first. Now, I'm going to talk about armor. These ships' armor, as you have probably noticed by now, there is no navigational bridge. So instead, there is armor in the front, about 1 to 2 layers of armor. Now the broadside armor does not go from end to end. It in fact only goes from here to here, and that is consistent on both ships. This is because this is where the crew quarters are, and where they would usually store and protect the refugees in a battle, or an escape plan, or any other situation similar to that. Now we are going to take a look on the inside of the Mark I, as the Mark II has the exact same inside. So here we have kind of like the central battle hub of the ship. As you can see, there is all the cannons. For this side, you are able to reload torpedoes, and there's just more cannons. And then down here on the third deck, there's crew quarters. As I said, the crew quarters is the most protected area of the ship, because they had to store the refugees in there during a battle, because they couldn't put them in the hallway, and they couldn't dedicate a whole room just to specifically refugees. In the front here we have the hangar where the fighter is kept. There's only one fighter as the ship can only accommodate one. We have an emergency hatch here that also leads to the front turret. And all the way in the back we have the engineering room where all the chests are for mainly storage of repair parts, ammunition, weapons, armor, anything that is needed in the middle of a battle, fuel. Now, back in the first era, ship engines weren't the most reliable thing on the planet, mainly because they had to rush the construction of everything on an airship, because usually it could take, you know, about a month to construct one of these properly. Well, properly compared to how the BC builds their ships now in the third era. But with these ships, it only took them a few weeks. So they were able to basically mass produce these like they were a nation dedicated to building airships, even though they had just started only half a year ago. Yeah. So, I'm afraid that's it. This episode was a little bit short because, frankly, there just isn't a whole lot to, you know, really explain in history lessons with how these ships operate. I will dedicate different videos to a specific ship in a specific class. So with this destroyer class, I will dedicate a specific ship that survived the entire conflict against the rebel faction and was turned into a museum and stripped all of its weaponry and engines and basically became a public attraction. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this nice little video. If you have, click the like button. Also, if you haven't yet, click that subscribe button. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!